Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today I am going to discuss locus of control, right? Locus of control. L-O-C-U-S, locus of control. A lot of you are probably familiar with it. Some of you may not be familiar with it. So what I'm going to do today is to define what we mean by locus of control. So when someone says locus of control, what are they talking about? And then also to explain how locus of control can affect you, right? That's kind of a difficult thing to say really fast. You almost want to say focus, which in a funny way is kind of what it is, and then I'll explain it as I get into it. But it's not focus, it's locus. So L as in Larry, locus of control. And that's what we're going to talk about. It's not a really popular term. I guess it depends on you know what you read and all that type of stuff. But it's something that really does affect us, and it just has like a fancy name to it, a fancy term to it. So that's what we're going to discuss today. So before I get into it, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your post notifications. I really appreciate you subscribing, turning on your post notifications because I post every day. Don't forget to hit the like button, share the video, do all that type of stuff. I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. Locus of control. Now, I wrote some stuff down because I really wanted to remember some things that I really wanted to talk about. So you'll see I'll be looking at my notes every now and then just to make sure that I'm getting my point across. All right, so let's start off with a definition of locus of control. So first of all, it's a psychological concept. So locus of control is a psychological concept. So just kind of wrap that around your brain, right? It's a psychological concept. So what it does is it basically talks about, or basically involves to what extent we believe we are in control of our own lives. So when you think of locus of control, you're thinking, to what extent am I in control of my own life, right? So to what extent do you think you're in control of your own life? That is the degree to which you believe you control your life, you control the circumstances and the situations and all that type of stuff going on in your life. To the extent you believe that, that is your locus of control, right? So that will be your locus of control. All right, so let's see, where do I best way to probably do this for you. Let's talk about it from there are two parts to the locus of control. There is the internal and there's the external. So maybe let me start there before I go on to anything else. So we know what locus of control is. It's a psychological concept, right? It's the degree to which you believe you are in control of your life and therefore your circumstances in your life and all that sort of stuff. So now we're going to look at two different areas of it. There is the internal and the external when we're talking about the locus of control, right? So the internal is you believe that you can make things happen, right? You believe that you can make things happen. You could stir things up, right? Your success and your failures are directly tied to you believing that you could accomplish something or you can't accomplish something. So the degree to which you are successful, right, has everything to do with how much you believe that you are in control of your own destiny. And if you're in control of your own destiny, then you must be in control of the circumstances around which, right, the things that then affect your destiny. So that is what the locus of control, the internal part is, all right? So it's internal versus external. So for locus of control, you might hear people say, I worked. There's a lot of I statements in there. Like, I have worked so hard to get where I am. Or I know I can work really hard to get where I need to go. right? I know that I can do so, 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 and so if I want to be successful. Or let's say it's, for example, you're a student or something like that, right? And I believe that I can pass these classes if I apply myself, right? So there's a lot of it's self belief, right? If you're getting the drift, it's self belief. So when I said earlier, I brought up the word focus. The focus is on, I guess it's kind of like an internal energy. There's like a spirit that you have within that tells you that you can accomplish certain things. There are some people that will make the argument, and I don't disagree with it. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that people who have a stronger, some, not everyone, but some people who have a stronger sense of locus of control have really, their faith is strong. So have a stronger sense of faith, right? So if they're someone who believes in God or whatever higher power they believe in, but for the sake of this discussion, we said, so this person believes in God, they have faith. And so some people make the argument that people who have a stronger faith, sometimes, not everyone, but sometimes some of those people have a tendency to also have a stronger internal locus of control, right? Because remember, the internal is saying that I believe that I can do so, so, and so. I believe that I can. So let me give you a personal example now. And sometimes I hate to use the term I, but sometimes it's necessary. I also believed that I could have overcome my circumstances, how I was, the circumstances in which I grew up. Growing up poor, I would see people who were really successful on TV or whatever the case is, through movies, and or just people I admired, obviously from afar a lot of times. And because of that, I also believed that I could do it because I had the power of examples. I tell you, the power of, not everyone is a role model, right? And that's a completely different video that I will do at some point in time. But sometimes the power of just admiration of the right people, because if you admire the wrong people, then you could also be doing the wrong type of stuff. But just the power of admiration of the right people could also cause you to end up doing positive things and accomplishing the things that you would like to accomplish. So I remember, for example, I'll tell you this, growing up, we only had, at one point in time, was one TV station, so one channel that we had. And so everybody watched The Young and the Restless, right? Everyone watched The Young and the Restless. And it was just what you do, it's just what you did, And I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. So there was a point growing up, it's not all that long ago, right? Many years has lapsed, and now people have, the average person now has cable and all that sort of stuff. But the watching The Young and the Restless was a big thing to me, right? It wasn't about the gossip and the drama and all that type of stuff, but it was seeing these people inside of their offices and all that type of stuff. Believe it or not, that was an inspiration to me. It was like, oh wow, like I could see myself sitting in an office like this. The power of imagination, right? So the power of TV, the power of movies, the power of reading, the power of allowing your mind sometimes to get outside and to travel beyond where you are could eventually take you physically to that place where you want to be. But it's having that mindset that I can do it. And obviously, what helped to instill that was having people around you, regardless of how poor I was financially, but having a positive, the right positive people around me at that time. My high school English teachers, my social studies teacher, that really had a huge impact on, and my grandmother had a real impact on, me ending up where I am today, right? That imagination, my locus of control. I believe that I am in control of my circumstances, and therefore I could accomplish the things I want to accomplish. Obviously, as a believer myself in God, then obviously I would also say, obviously God has a huge role to play, but I must also do the work as well. So I believe that. Now, the external part to it, so the external locus of control, those are people who just, well, a lot of times would say, I can't believe how things just keep happening to me. Things just can't, I'm not lucky at all. You know what I'm saying? I can't get lucky at all. I don't know how I'm always faced with these situations. I'm so bad lucky. I just can't get lucky. Things never go my way. Why is it that things never go my way? Those are the people who have that external locus of control. They believe that circumstances and people in their life determine their outcome, right? So they believe that circumstances and people, right? The people, sometimes not even people in their lives, but just people in general have a huge impact on their outcome, on whether or not they could accomplish something or whatever the case is. So it's, why is the world always against me? Why do these things always happen to me? I always think when, it's like if someone says, I always pick the wrong people to date, or I can't understand why I always end up with these losers or this type of person or whatever the case is. The interesting thing for that is like someone like me would say, well, you have to look at the choices that you make, right? What are you doing over and over and over again that is putting you in the situation that you're in, right? What are you not considering? What are you not spending enough time reflecting on? Or is it that you have become so negative that negativity, that energy, you channel negative things because you're so negative, right? So, for example, you've become so pessimistic, so negative, that the decisions you make are negative because you don't look at things another way. You're trapped in that world of negativity, right? That either you've created or sometimes, unfortunately, you have been brought up in and you've never been exposed to anything else. So a lot of times it's really difficult to be positive when you've only been exposed to negative, right? And so some people are victims of that, right? And not any fault of their own. Some people are just victims of that. So it's hard for them to see then how they can eventually will their way out of a certain situation because they've never been exposed to, never even dreamed of being in a more positive situation. So they can't see that. So then they believe that their circumstances are controlled by things, by situations, by their surroundings, by their environment, by people who don't even know them are controlling their circumstances and their situations. And so they're more external, right? They have that mindset of, well, whatever will happen, will happen. You hear people say that. Well, what is to happen will happen. Some people believe I have a control over what can happen. Or if I can't immediately control it, I can't control how it happens, I can immediately get to it and I can control and shape the final outcome of it. That's the person with the internal. Because the person with the internal is saying, okay, it happened, but how do I react to it to shape it and try my best to bend it to fit what would be okay with me? Whereas the other person might just give up, who's looking more at the external locus of control. The external locus of control person gives up and says, well, whatever is to happen will happen because that's just what's going to happen, right? So it really, that's why it's a psychological perspective. It's a psychological concept, right? Because it really comes down to how you look at things. And that's a separate video that I'm going to do, which is what causes us to see things a certain way. So let me just summarize real quick. Locus of control is a psychological concept which basically gets to the point. The argument is basically looks at the degree to which you are in control of your circumstances, right? And that's kind of the argument, the degree to which you are in control of your circumstances. We have the internal and the external locus of control. So the internal part says, well, I can make things happen, right? I can do so, and so. I can work hard and make X, Y, Z happen. The person who has an external locus of control, right, where that is their focus, they say, well, stuff just happens anyway. Why do these things always happen to me? One person believes more internal that they control things. they can write their destiny, so to speak, right? They can craft it and shape it, and they're the author of their own destiny, right? That's a good way to put it, right? The person who looks at locus of control from an internal perspective says that they are the author of their own destiny. The person who looks at locus of control from an external perspective says that somebody else is in control of my destiny, which is also a really dangerous thing. So, how do we develop that type of mindset? How do we get to the point where we say, I am in control of my destiny, or someone else is in control of my destiny? That is something that I will put in another video. It's actually really interesting, and I will get to that. So look out for that. All right. I don't know if I'll call it Locus of Control Part 2, or I'll just go with what it is. I'll decide. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch the video. As again, please take some time to subscribe and turn on your post notifications. Please don't forget to subscribe, right? It really does help the channel grow. And don't forget to leave your comments. I really, really appreciate if you leave your comments as well. Let me know what you think, what type of videos you would like to see. Please go back and look at my other videos. As I've said, if this is the first video you've ever seen, there are a lot more videos because I post pretty much every single day. Also, don't forget to share. That really helps the channel grow as well. And to hit the like button, right? And until next time, peace.